Hi, and welcome to Community Forum. My name is Sandra Groppi, and I'm hosting the show for today. Today we're going to talk about the renaming of the West, and also get an update on the new high school. So the panel that I have today, thank you all for coming, is Dr. Marguerite Rizzi, Superintendent of Stoughton Schools, TJ Recupero, the Chair of the High School Building Committee, and Bob Desmond, a community member who actually had come forward and he brought the potential to rename the West forward to us. I know that this has been out in the public. We've been talking about it for months, and we wanted to kind of bring it here and talk about it, but also I want to thank the folks at SMAC for asking us to come on and talk about it. So I guess the first question I'll have is for you, Bob, because this is such a great thing and the community's embracing it, and everyone's excited. We're all excited. The school committee's excited and fully supported it unanimously. What made you come forward and send that email to the school committee?
I read in the Stoughton Journal that he had passed, and brought back a lot of warm memories of him. So I thought it would be a nice tribute to him for someone that's contributed to the town of Stoughton, the school system, and to thank him for his service as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. I currently have a 5th grader at the West. She's starting 5th grade. I can't believe that, but she's starting 5th grade. And I have a 7th grader. I can't believe that either, but she went to the West. And I knew that they had a scholarship after. They had the Wilkins scholarship.
Yeah.
We have Wilkins Way. That's right in front of the elementary school. That was named after him after he retired. There's a lot of things, plaques and things up of him. And I think that the great thing for me was it came full circle. Full circle in a way where I've heard about him. I've actually handed out that scholarship to prior West students, seniors. But to see everyone that came to the school committee meeting to talk about, really advocate for why this was such a good reason was very hard, made our hearts full. And I know, Dr. Rizzi, I'm sure you felt the same, just even seeing that. I know that we have a clip of some folks that weren't able to join, and we wanted to kind of highlight that Mr. Wilkins' daughter, Claire, wasn't able to come, and she really wanted to, but she wasn't able to come today. So we'll have a clip with her included, the current principal of the West, Dr. Lisa Whalen, in addition, a teacher who helped me significantly in trying to get together all of the retired teachers to come forward and talk about this, Kelly Levesque. So she's the teacher at the West. So what I'm going to ask is we have a short 6-minute clip, and I'm going to ask for us to cue that up.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the invitation to join you tonight. My name is Claire Wilkins. I am the youngest child of Richard Dick Wilkins, who started his 34-year career at the West School in 1961 as a teacher, and was then the principal from 1968 through his retirement in 1995. My dad lived for the West School as much as he did his family. He had 2 families, the West School faculty, staff, and students, and us. He treated both the same. He would tell stories about students and faculty around the dinner table that were humorous, insightful, and taught us a lesson on how we should interact with people and strive to be teachers throughout our lives. He identified as teacher, instructor, educator, and leader as much as he did brother, husband, father, papa, uncle, and friend. He boasted about his West School, but never about himself. What he did and the programs he instituted were never done for recognition, but for the impact they had and the value they added to the student. As a child, I can remember walking the halls of the West with him during the summer, and even then, understanding how proud he was of the institution that he was a part of. The outpouring of love and support from both former West School staff and students when he died was overwhelming and prodigious. I was told and have read over and over again in tributes to him that he was the type of principal that every kid should have. One particular thing that was shared with us was a letter my dad wrote to Mr. Michael LaFleur, father of Mikey, in November of 1987, thanking him for a pizza party he provided for Mikey's class. In the letter, my father wrote, and I quote, "Kindness is its own reward," is an old saying from my days as a child. It means that being thoughtful towards someone else has the prize of feeling good inside. That was truly the person my father was. I obviously think the world of my father. But I have also been so very fortunate to learn that others think so highly of him as well, and that makes my heart swell with pride. The simple fact that I am here speaking to you this evening about renaming the West after him is a testament to the legacy that he left. On behalf of my mother, brothers, sister, niece, nephews, and especially my dad, thank you.
For allowing me to come speak on behalf of Mr. Wilkins. My name is Kelly Levesque, and I have taught at the West School for 24 years. I am the last of the lucky West School teachers that had the privilege of working for Mr. Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins served the West School community for 37 years. He was a man of remarkable integrity, professionalism, and nurturing. His kind, genuine personality made the West School a second home for his students and his staff. He made you feel like you were one of his favorites, even though we were all his favorites. Mr. Wilkins supported all the students and staff. He made you believe in yourself and that you could make a mark in the world. His respect for the teachers and students made us all want to work hard and not let him down. When Mrs. Groppi asked me to speak tonight on his behalf, I had to think how I could express to you what made him truly remarkable. The thing that stands out to me the most is the loyalty the staff and the students had for him and the devotion he had for his West School family. Our current West School motto is CARES, which stands for Community, Acceptance, Responsibility, and Self-Control, and he embodied all those characteristics and so much more. Every day I pull out of the West School and I see the driveway sign that says Richard L. Wilkins Way, and I hope that I made him proud when I pull out. I still am strongly committed to the West School, and I think naming the school after him, I couldn't think of a better person. And this is Ellie, and she teaches at the Hanson, but she actually was a student at the West School, and Mr. Wilkins was her principal. Wow. And she then her first year or 2 years teaching taught for Mr. Wilkins before she was moved to the West. I mean to the Hanson. You could just have read the whole speech. You want to swap?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ellie Rake, and I teach first grade at the Hanson School. I was lucky enough to have been influenced by Mr. Richard Wilkins during several different phases of my life. In 1972, I entered kindergarten at the West Elementary School, and Mr. Wilkins was my principal until I left 6th grade. 10 years later, I was interviewed by him for a teaching job in Stoughton, and I spent one fabulous year teaching 4th grade with my former teachers, I can't call them old teachers, and the amazing Mr. Wilkins. Intelligence, kindness, humor, empathy, joy, excellence. These are but a few of the values that Mr. Wilkins epitomized. There was no better person, there was no better principal, and there could be no better name for an elementary school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Whalen, the current West School principal, is here. I had attended a PTO meeting about, I'm sorry, I'm like crying. I can't even talk. Like about 2 months back, and I want to welcome you, and it's your building right now, and
absolutely, and I certainly I support all of these fine ladies here and the number of years of service that they gave to and are still giving to the West Elementary School, and I think it would be a beautiful tribute to just a fine man who gave so much of his life to the town of Stoughton and to the West Elementary School. So absolutely, it's your decision, but I think everything they talked about tonight, particularly when you think of what we model each and every day, Kelly, with CARES, that has grown from Mr. Wilkins, and that still remains in our community at the West now.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. So Yeah, that was, I remember that night so clearly. It was, I remember tearing up actually, hearing everybody talk. I remember that was,
Yes.
it was powerful, it was so impactful, and having, what we have, about 30, 40
To support.
prior staff to support this. Such a big, I mean, I want to get your point of view about when this came forward and where we've gone from now, like how did, you know, what's your take? Like, how do you feel about all this?
Well, this is the first time since I've been here that there's actually been a suggestion of a renaming. So at some point in time, the middle school was named the O'Donnell. I knew Helen Hansen, so I understand why the Hansen was named the Hansen School. I knew Mr. Daw, so same thing. So I could understand why people picked those folks to name their schools after. And it makes it more personal than just, so, you know, east, west, north, south is fine. But there's something more personal about the school being named after someone who was important to that place. And the West School has made tremendous amounts of progress in the last few years in terms of their academics. The scores for our ELL students are really spectacular, some of the highest in the state. The recreation department has worked with us to completely redo the playground there, which is going to be a spectacular upgrade for the school. In the last couple of years, it's been repainted. We have a lovely, enthusiastic principal who has just really strengthened the culture there. It's a spectacular place to go. It's a lovely building. We have piloted some of the programs that we are most proud of. The before school, the after school programs, the summer camps. We piloted at the West, and then when we saw that they were working so well, we've now moved them district-wide.
I forgot about that.
And the town of Stoughton has always been incredibly good to us. When there is money to be had, they give it to us, and we try very hard to use it well. The West is an older building, but it's a really strong building with good bones, and we are now going to be able to replace all the underlying sewers and really do an upgrade to all the bathrooms there. So with the academics, with all the extra programs, with all the things that are just going really well, and all the facelifts that are going on, and then for people to come forward and identify Dick Wilkins as a gentleman who just had such an impact on making people feel happy to come to school every day, and in a way that they still remember now years later. And it's a way for the system to indicate our enthusiasm and support of what's going on at that school.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you knew like Helen Hansen. So had you ever met Dick or
no? I've been here 12 years, and we did not overlap.
Wow. Okay.
So I never had an opportunity to meet him. Although when I heard all the people who did know him talking about him in June,
it's wild.
I felt like I got a sense of him, and I was thinking, gee, it's too bad I didn't get to work with that person. But
yeah, that's the part that blew my mind. It was, you know, okay, you know, Bob came forward and asked a question, and then it's like, what are the next steps? What do we do? How do we talk about it? And I know I went to a PTO meeting at the West, brought that forward and said, this is what the school committee's thinking and doing, right? Spoke to the principal, this is what we're thinking and doing. And as we kind of branched out every month to get that out there and the word out there, it was like everyone had nothing but good things to say, spectacular things to say about him. And we're talking people that went to school a long time ago, right? 70s, right? And he just left such an impact on them. I can't imagine it being named after anyone else after hearing all these things. But I would love to hear from you, Bob, some stories or, you know, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a very compassionate person, not just an educator. And, you know, I had some issues, and, you know, he was always there. He was always someone to talk to. He was great to my family, just a great overall person, and, you know, made you want to go to school for the most part. You know, always stopping in, saying hello when you're in class, coming out, reaching out to you, asking you questions. Just not enough time to say all the good things about him as far as that's concerned. Great guy. So I think it's a great tribute. I think 34 years in the school system, 26 as the principal. And I want to commend you and the school committee in the sense that you did it the right way. You went through the proper channels. You got public intake, and you had many meetings on it where people were able to get up and speak and remember him fondly. And so it was just a great, it was a process. I can't thank you enough. I think it's a great thing for the West School. So I think it's just a win-win.
Yeah, no, this is I appreciate that, and I know that it was a unanimous vote that night with the school committee. The four of us were there, and I don't think we could have been as honored as we were that night. And I think I said something. I was quoted as saying, "This is the best vote I've done so far," or something. It just was so moving, and just to see how the community, the Stoughton community, was impacted was huge. I don't know. I'm very honored to be part of this, and again grateful that you came forward. And just a couple of things on the West to touch on, and then TJ, I'm coming for you. I've got questions. Just one of the other key things that this is the second year, which I thought it was just something to highlight for that school, which will soon be the Wilkins Elementary, is this backpack drive where Harbor One, there's this grant that the current principal, Dr. Whalen, she's filled it out. She's done it herself, and she gets backpacks donated by Harbor One for every single student in that school with supplies inside. And that's huge for that school, and for a lot of the families that really need that help. So I just think that's something that is a huge thing for that community. And again, I think that brings that whole picture of the Wilkins. It's taking care of the kids. It's being there for everyone. It's embracing all of the the different things. And just like you mentioned, town meeting, voting to for that playground in the back where the softball fields are. Mm-hmm. Although it's not school property, it's back there, and students do use it after school and throughout all of the different schools in that complex, whether they're waiting for kids to come out, whatever. So you want safety. So I think that's a huge deal. And also the plumbing, the bathrooms at the West couldn't be more fitting. And you're part of town meeting, and you're on FinCom, so that these things and happening, and then this kind of all came together. This is going to be a great year.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we did the roof and we did windows there as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that school has gotten a lot of upkeep as far as that's concerned, which is great.
Yes.
And this just adds to it as far as that's concerned.
Absolutely.
The last windows were put in when, how trends come and go, and you look and you wonder, some of them stand the test of time, yet others do not.
Yeah.
And those windows were put in at a time when seeing through them was not a value.
Oh boy.
And so they were.
Does that sound familiar, TJ? Now you're in that window.
Lucid, but you could not see out the windows. So now the new windows, first of all, they're glass, you can see through them.
Yeah.
But they've also tightened up the building from the standpoint of energy use as well.
Yeah.
And the new roof will last for a long time, and that was a town meeting article as well. Yeah. And now the playground will be spruced up, the plumbing will be entirely redone, and that's not the kind of thing that you see, but it's definitely something that impacts the children who go in the building. And when you walk into a building and you see that it's well cared for, that it's been invested in, that people are doing things to make it nice for you, that absolutely impacts the way you feel when you go to school. And kids should see that their facilities are things that their adults are providing for them that are really kind of special.
I'd agree, and I think, TJ, you've brought up some things like that, where especially with the new high school, it gave me the look, you're like, you're picking on me. Even with the new high school, you guys are talking about all those factors because you want the buildings to be welcoming, right, to everyone that walks in, and safe. But just kind of jumping from this piece over to the new high school, because I really wanted to talk about a couple things. With the West renaming, it made me think about the new high school and any conversations about monuments that exist currently in the old high school structure. And have there been any discussions about how would you transfer those to the new high school? How would you do, what's going on with that?
Yeah, can I talk what I...
No. Yes, absolutely not. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, Maggie will tell you this. We, from very early on, before we even had a final plan, we were talking about, and in fact, people would call up and say, what's going to happen to my bench or my sign or things like that. So that was a discussion that we just couldn't avoid, not that we would have anyway. So we had a discussion from very early on about how those were going to be, or I should say that those were going to be reincorporated into the new building somehow. Yeah. How they get incorporated is still a discussion to be had, but sure enough, it's right around the corner. We'll have a building that students will be in, you know, what, about 16, 17 months from now, something like that, September 2019. I can't do the math that quickly, but
it's wild.
So can I also say, on another topic, something struck me as you were talking, as someone who was not associated with the rededication of the West School. Two things strike me as how lucky we've been with some of the principals that have served this town over the years, who were just institutions in our town. And we chatted about a couple of them offline. That struck me. The other thing struck me is how, you know, I get so encouraged when I think about the things. I teased you on the phone when you called and asked if I'd be here. And I first told you to stuff it. But
and then I wouldn't take no for an answer.
but after that, you said we've been working on this West School rededication for a few months. And my first response was, well, what the hell does it take 3 months for?
Yeah.
But it does. It takes Bob to come forward. It takes you to work. It takes all those teachers to step up. And
you have to do it the right way.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that because I was struck by those two things. But back to the high school.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
So
we do like each other. Go ahead.
So I mean, we will at some point in the pretty near future actually take great pains to. And we're an advisory committee. That's actually going to come through Maggie, probably to the school committee, I would imagine. I mean, we're an advisory committee. We'll recommend, and I imagine they will be the best places for them because the committee knows the high school grounds and all the nooks and crannies better than anyone else. But that's an important part of the project is making sure that we don't lose what was built up over 100 years of the prior high school.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance to be struck, probably always, but certainly in the case of Stoughton, where people tend to stay here if they've been brought up here.
Yes.
So there are multiple generations of people who stay in Stoughton who are raising their children here. So now there's another generation that are small. So we always want there to be the best facilities, the best, most up-to-date education that children can get. We want them to be as prepared as possible, more prepared than anyone for what they're going to see and experience when they get out into the big world.
Yeah.
So we want to do everything completely up to date, cutting edge, best practice. At the same time, it's really important to maintain tradition, honor the things that have gone before, and we know the high school building needs to be replaced. And that it was obvious in so many ways, and yet with 100 years of history in that school, we also want to make sure that we don't lose that and that continues to be honored, because all the people who went to that building will not be able to go back now to reunions to their building, and this happens all the time, but we want to make sure that some of the things that will be important memories and important references to historical things that happened, that we keep those as well as being completely up to date.
Now, I'm just going to start digging just to ask like random questions, because now we're kind of keeping with this whole memorial type thing. Have you thought about, like, I know a piece of a bench, right, from like the gymnasium, it might be hard to kind of carve that out, but are we going to sell anything like a brick from the old building, anything like that?
This has been discussed a lot, and many people have come forward to say they'd like to buy a brick, or they'd like to buy their locker. The most common thing we get a question for is can I buy my locker?
That is interesting. That's a big
more than
item.
anything else. And we have discussed this with the builders and with the architect. But this is, and sometimes these things happen that are, you would wish, it's kind of like a deflating thing and you wish it wouldn't happen. But we have to be extremely careful about doing things like selling bricks, because of the materials that were used at certain times in that building.
Oh, getcha.
So there are PCBs
Yeah.
that have perhaps leached into the brick. So when you take the brick out, then it loosens that material, and so the bricks would all. Some of them are
Wow.
technically considered hazardous materials.
That's wild.
And so you can't
Asbestos.
just take a piece of wood floor and hand it to somebody because it's got asbestos mastic that held it down, and you can't just say we'll engrave this brick and give it to you because technically the material is compromised. So
Wow.
that's a really nice idea.
Yeah.
But then when you start looking at what would
the
actually
layers
mean
of the onion.
it's there are a lot of things that you just can't walk away with, and they will have to dispose of the material from that building
Yeah.
in certain ways that kind of respect the fact that there's hazardous
Wow.
material in it.
It's also, we've had this very discussion, particularly about bricks, because
Yeah.
that was one that was brought up. And in addition to the hazardous material in bricks and in mortar that Maggie mentioned, it's also, there are things that you wouldn't recognize not being involved, like budget. That's a separate process of hiring another contractor to
Yeah.
clean off mortar and bricks and to stack them aside.
Yep.
And that's not now in our budget, so that's an extra cost. And you mentioned, can people buy a brick? Well, they can, but if you inject another fund source into the project,
Might cost a lot.
that reduces our grant by a certain amount, or it could, I
okay.
should say.
Okay.
So, through the MSBA process, there are all these intertwined
Yeah.
pieces that just saying, I want this out of the project is great, but there are a lot of considerations down the line. Even lockers, I would imagine, would be something if
Yeah.
you wanted to sell it. You'd have to, I'm not saying it can't be done, because it probably can, and I'm sure it's been proposed in the past, but there are more than, just saying we're going to open the doors on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Let everybody
Yeah.
in.
Right.
Everybody comes in
Right.
with hammers and starts going crazy. Could you imagine?
Yeah. I had just a
funny.
10-second story. As I was in I won't say who and where, but I was in this store, about 3 or 4 months ago, and got talking with a guy who was originally from Stoughton, and he met his wife in, I want to say B102, classroom B102, and he was wondering, before the building comes down,
Can he have
some sort of ceremony in that room with his wife? And I said, sure, I guess.
That we could do.
Yeah.
'Cause it
Maybe they
doesn't
can
involve
renew their
taking
vows
pieces off.
in that room. That could be a whole different smack show for everyone. we can do the B102.
I think that was the room,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
But-
But it's funny because I think everything I know from being on the school committee for the past year and just everything with the high school, there's so many considerations around everything. It's like this onion of layers peeling back and saying, oh wait, I think we can do this. Oh, hold on, this just kind of is there anything else with the high school that you've considered? I know we talked about bricks, lockers. I mean, they're things that people have come forward with, and it's something that you guys have to talk about in the building committee meetings, or have considered and want to bring up here.
For dedications?
For anything in general, any suggestions?
Well, I will say on the issue of dedications, we haven't had any hard discussions, and Maggie will tell you, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but one of the things that we incorporated late into the project was a little pocket park along Pearl Street, and we discussed maybe having people be able to purchase an engraved paving stone or something like that with their name on it or something.
That's a nice idea.
Yes. And that's a nice interface, that park between the street and what will be the high school complex that people can use and enjoy. And the CPC is helping us with that because, of course, the school is for the students.
Yeah.
But it's also a major point of pride for the community, and we want people to be able to use it as much as possible, and to have the facilities feel welcoming and open, and to have a nice place where we can incorporate perhaps memorials, but also have people contribute to what it's going to look and feel like in the end when we're done.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And when the new building's up, not so much in September 2019, because once the old building comes down and we're working on the grounds and the fields and everything, there will be things that we don't have and new opportunities to replace old dedications in new places that we don't have. Like around the football field, there's going to be a pavilion area.
Yes.
the CPC has actually helped us to fund some benches and furniture and things like that, so that we can actually open it up to the community, and that will be an opportunity to do things like that.
No, that's great.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
What is the timetable for that? If that opens in September, when are you actually, I guess, demolishing the old high school? Is that, maybe if you could elaborate on that, I'd be interested.
Right. Well, September 2019, the kids will start moving in, and then the building will start coming down immediately, because the way this project team works
They're
is
on
they don't
schedule.
get paid if they're not on schedule. So
Yeah.
Okay.
and it won't come down with a wrecking ball as much as with a scalpel. They'll be dismantling it,
Okay, beautiful.
and much of
Yes.
it will be salvaged as possible.
I asked if I could be the person to swing the first wrecking ball, and they looked at me and said, "Maggie, we don't use wrecking balls anymore." I'm like,
Times have changed.
yeah. But we definitely want to get in the building, and the building is going to be a much better, more contemporary place for education.
Yeah.
And the learning experience will be a better one. So that that's obviously a priority, but we need to get the grounds done, because we're still going to be without fields.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another year that we're going to have to be off-site to be able to bring all the programs back and have home games again and home practices. And they need to just get moving on that building straight away so we can have the whole place finished.
Wow, yeah. So there's just it's a lot going on there, and I just think it's so exciting. I know I was excited when I was holding signs for the new high school. What was it now? 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But around that, I want to ask each of you to tell me individually, what do you think your favorite part of the new high school is going to be? What's your favorite part that's coming? That's
Me?
you? Yeah. Talking to you, TJ.
Why didn't Bob go first?
Well, I'll talk to you two because you're on the committee, and then we're going to listen to what you say, and then try to act like we, know what parts.
I have two favorite parts. One is education related, but since that's not really my niche on the committee, I have a second part that has nothing to do with education that we just mentioned, and that's the pocket park.
Yeah.
And I like that for two different reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it was a creative way to solve a problem of aesthetics.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think we should do more of that sort of thing around town and dress up little forgotten pieces of Stoughton, like behind the bleachers along Pearl Street, so that we can create special spaces in tight quarters. The other part that I mentioned that I like so much is the commons area that will have students no longer separated and divided into, this table of the cafeteria and that corner of the building and that classroom. It will be a place where, much as college, you would go and you would sit around in an open space with all your fellow classmates and collaborate. It'll be something that this town hasn't seen before, of course, but I'm hoping that it gets used. Maggie can probably speak to the educational benefits. Well, not probably, but far better than I can. But I think it's going to open up new opportunities for students because they haven't seen anything like that before. And I just love the design of it and how it came out. Open space, a lot of light. And, anyway, that's mine.
I'd say that's probably mine too, to be honest.
Yeah, bringing it into the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, I think.
Oh, totally.
As far as that's concerned.
Well, it gives them such a better learning environment too. Now you can actually teach them in an environment that has the proper tools.
We talk so much about the importance of STEM-related subjects, science and technology, engineering and math, and not just for the people who want to be in those professions, but if you learn to think like you have to think to work with those subjects, it just makes you a better, more complete thinker, and it just gives you a lot of efficacy in the world. And so I would say I think the science labs are one of my favorite parts because we do the best we can now with rooms that are not really labs.
That's why I smiled.
But when kids go to college, they will have been working with real materials in real labs,
That's right.
and I just think that that's spectacular.
Yeah.
We're also going to have a really, really nicely designed special education space. So many more of our students who need particularly like profound levels of help will have kitchens for people to work in, just to learn basic life skills, doing laundry, different.
Yeah.
So for the students, we'll be able to address the educational needs of students that are in a far broader spectrum of learning needs.
Yeah.
And those facilities will be really nice, as opposed to now they're kind of squeezed into places that weren't really meant for them. But the other thing, and one of the frustrations I have with our current high school, there is no place for the entire student body to be at once. And that's hard. So if you have assemblies, you have to do them in stages. You cannot have one common community thing. Not everyone can fit in the pep rally, things like that.
Wow.
So the gym will be big enough for the entire student body to be able to enjoy and experience things together.
Yeah.
And that's something we have never had. So it's going to add to the experience of just options that people can do things together as an entire school.
I think it's funny. You have so many favorite things. I think you,
Well,
you love the
this
whole
is
thing.
true.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
More.
there's
Yeah.
so many, but like there's that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's. I knew you were gonna. It was funny because he said because there's actually actual science.
Because now we don't have
Because
them.
now we have them.
Yes,
Right.
right. But I kind of had a feeling you'd say that because I do think it's really cool that we're gonna provide
But then
that.
there's one more favorite that I have, which is
Oh.
so our auditorium will not be bigger than our current auditorium. But
Yep.
since we have the gym where everyone can gather together, that's okay. It's going to be a much better auditorium, and we have had students really asking for a more developed theater and drama program.
Oh yes, I'm excited
And
about
that our facilities cannot really manage,
Yeah.
except, and the plays that the kids are able to do with
Yeah.
what we have are spectacular, but they'll be able to build real sets,
Yeah.
and there'll be places for them to practice, and we're putting theater classes into the school day,
Yeah.
which will support them. We can just grow a whole theater program, which people have been asking for years, and we haven't
Yeah.
been able to do.
And they have it in the surrounding communities, and
Mm-hmm.
it's big productions. And a lot of people in Stoughton go to those schools to watch those shows. So I think it's going to be great. That's
Yeah.
going to be huge. No, it's so exciting. I'm just going to take a quick second to pause because, I wanted to just take a second to thank our sponsors of today's show. I don't want to forget that. So if we could roll to that.
Hi, it's Gary LaPierre, and the crew wants to thank Maxie's Delicatessen. That's at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. They're 781-341-1662. American Cancer Society, yes, they're looking for volunteers. Drive cancer patients to and from their treatments. 1-800-ACS-6662. Or just go to www.cancer.org. Ilsa Mark's Food Pantry in St. Anthony's Free Market, 2 Park Avenue in Stoughton. For more information, call Christine Gallagher. That's at 781-341-0611 or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels. Just ask for Jessica. You'll find her at 781-344-8882, extension 2. Stoughton Penny Saver. Our business is advertising your business, they tell us. 27 Rose Glen Street, Stoughton, 781-344-4833. Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m. It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. All comments and suggestions welcome. Contact us at communityforum1@yahoo.com. Samaritans, they're at 41 West Street on the 4th floor in Boston, 02111. Their phone number is 617-536-2460. 24-hour helplines for Samaritans, and the number is 877-870-HOPE. That's 877-870-4673. Samaritans, you can find them at 800-252-TEEN. That's 252-8336. Or find them online at SamaritansHope.org.
And coming up Monday night, bingo at Ava Torah Congregation at 1179 Central Street in Stoughton. The doors open at 4:30 and the games start at 6:30. Be there. And also, one of our sponsors, Get Fresh, Stoughton's own cooking show. Right now, there's a new episode airing. It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. Monday, 5:30 p.m., Wednesday, 8 p.m., Thursday, 9 a.m., and Friday, 5 p.m. Check it out. Hometown Business Show. Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m., and Thursdays at 8 p.m., Sundays at 7 p.m. It's Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. And just a reminder for everybody that's watching what we've talked about earlier, the West School renaming ceremony, that's going to be held on Tuesday, September 25th at 5 p.m. Out front of the West Elementary. The renaming will be Richard L. Wilkins Elementary School at 1322 Central Street in Stoughton. And if you have any questions, you can contact me, Sandra Groppi, at s_Groppi, Groppi, at stoughtonschools.org. Great, thank you everyone for listening to me read that off and rant. So a couple more questions that I wanted to kind of pick up on, one that Bob actually you wanted to hear about, which is exciting. With the new high school, we always talk about the new high school being built, but there's this other component. There's the administrative office, right? So this administrative office piece is going to be in the Jones.
Yes.
So do you mind telling us how things are going there and what's going on?
Well, it's going to be quite a, there's quite a tight schedule related to that. So I think the Jones School is a great alternative. That's also, it's not a new building, but it's a really strong, well-made building.
Yeah.
We've had our preschool program there for quite a few years now. The preschool program has expanded significantly. So it started as a special education integrated preschool, and it still is that, but we have some transition classes for 4 to 5-year-olds. We have a Title I preschool for students who have some academic deficits because their experience, you know, if you grow up without a lot of resources in your home, we have some ways to try and make up those things before kids start kindergarten. And that program has just kind of been spread out around the building. And what we're going to do is, and it's already in process, is move the whole preschool program together into one wing, and then bring the administration over into one of the other wings of the building. And the advantage for us as an administration, we've never had the business office, the special education office, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the technology director. Because our office in the high school is so small, we have never had the components of the administration together.
Yeah.
So obviously there's telephones and ways of setting up meetings, and we make sure that we talk to each other. But the ability to collaborate on a more immediate basis, because we are all going to be in the same suite, is just going to be a wonderful improvement to the way that we can work together as a group.
Yeah.
So so the high school, because it's a brand new building, and I don't want me to say that we can just build it at leisure, but there's no one in it while it's being worked on. So we get to work in a building where we're not disturbed, basically, by the construction. But the Jones is already a working building and it's getting renovated, so that is a different experience for people. So there's a big rush on to get the preschool portion done.
Okay.
So when the preschool opens in September, it will open in the renovated preschool space.
Okay.
And then they will work really hard and fast to get the rest of the building done so that we will be able to move the administration portion in during the April vacation of this year. So that's, I would say, a little bit more like trying to do heart surgery on someone running a marathon, whereas the high school, at least, it's just sitting in one place and you're not having to displace people. So I think we've come up with a schedule that will be as least disruptive as possible. And the new preschool space will have all the therapies together, and there'll be spaces that are designed specifically for those. So I think there'll be a lot of things that will actually be an improvement for us in moving from our disparate spaces to one place.
Okay, add one piece and maybe, excuse me, you can elaborate if you want to add to it. better, which is, it's happening now, and I know that there was a need to do this quickly, not quickly, but earlier than probably expected. We know that the new high school will be ready to go in 2019. But with the administrative offices, we knew we had to start now, because once that older building is, with the wrecking ball, taken down, you have nothing, no office, nothing. So that was something I think that not knowing anything in the beginning, and a lot of people were saying, why does it have to happen now? Why do we have to make the decision now? Why do we have to choose this location, et cetera? I just think it's important. It's a good thing for people to know. It's just that so it's like that onion we talked about earlier. We had to think about it, because once that new high school, everybody comes in September 2019, all the students and teachers, the administrative staff is kind of homeless if they don't have somewhere to go, and that's why this is happening.
And we had a conversation about, should the administration go into the new building?
Yep.
And some places do that. But as a committee, we decided that was not the best idea, because the price per square foot of building the high school is much more than to renovate or get a different space for the offices. So we're actually spending less money on the central office itself by moving it into the Jones than if we had built it into the new building. So, but in any case, since they are combined now, and not every place do you find the administration in the high school. A lot of places have it in an elementary school. Sharon has it in a middle school. Sometimes there are freestanding buildings. So there are a lot of options, but we knew that the option we had was going. So that's...
And that building wasn't at full capacity as well, is that correct?
The Jones was not at full capacity. We're keeping the Stoughton Extended Day that had been there before. But you know how it can be. If you have a lot of space and no one's using it, maybe you spread out a little more than you need to, or you use an empty classroom for a closet. So there was a lot of space, and now it's going to be a much tighter space. But there was definitely a little bit of rattling around in there.
I have one last question, and TJ, this is more for you, and I think this is something that I'm most interested in, being in the subcommittee, the safety subcommittee for the new high school. So the question I have is, I know that there's going to be a public safety forum August 29th. Is that correct or wrong?
I think that's it. I think that's when
it
hasn't been.
I don't remember the date myself.
Yeah, I don't think it's been firmed up definitively when it's scheduled for.
Okay. Can you talk about what the plan is for when that does happen and it's open to the public? I think it'd be nice to share with
Maggie can too. Why do I have to?
Because I'm asking you. That's why. Now answer the question, Mr. Recupero.
Well, I can speak for myself and then the committee separately, because I've been sort of hectoring Compass Project Management to set something like this up. But it was the committee that started the idea, and it was sort of in response to a lot of the tragedies that have happened in schools around the country. So there will be I don't know what to call it, a meeting. I want to call it a symposium, but it's not really that.
Like a forum, right? An open.
Yeah, well, first of all, it has to be in executive session, because we're discussing security measures for the school, which is exempt from the open meeting law, and should be, because we don't want everybody to know police tactics and everything.
Right.
But we've asked the police chief, and even going so far as to ask shift supervisors of the police and the fire, and inviting the school committee and the selectmen, the policy makers in town, so that everybody so that we can spread as far and as wide as we can. I guess this is me talking, not the committee. The message that, yeah, we get it, we've seen what's happened in other areas, fortunately not in Massachusetts, knock wood.
Yeah.
But it is a threat that students face in 2018, and the committee is certainly addressing it. There was always going to be new security and advanced security in the school, but I think the optics of having us address it and have everybody on the same page and learn about it, the policymakers included in the school committee and selectmen, to hear how that it's being done, and in whatever detail how it's being done, so that everybody has a level of comfort that we didn't just brush that issue by, because it is an issue.
Yeah.
So, and I can only speak on this level. This is Maggie's concern daily.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were able to do a security forum
Yes.
for parents this past school year, and it was really great. Lots and lots of people came, and we got an opportunity to talk about the things that we can talk about. So there are certain things that we don't discuss in public, but I can say that we do have an extremely skilled, very well-trained crisis team that meets very regularly, and whenever there's something that goes wrong, whether that's a tragedy here, whether that's a school shooting somewhere, we always meet to process it and look at what we can do to make our schools safer. So we've increased technology around those things. We actually have a position now, which is school security supervisor, somebody who coordinates the drills and makes sure that everything we're doing is best practice. We have a line in the budget for technology to address those things as far as that makes sense. So there's a lot we're already doing, but the opportunity of having a brand new building where you can start with building things in as opposed to retrofitting them in after gives us a terrific opportunity to really be able to integrate the things that are completely up to date as far as all the best practices and best equipment that we know to deal with all issues related to security of every kind.
Yeah, so like two things to that. I want to ask, where will you have the information on the specific date for the public? How will it get out there to people? Will we?
You really won't, because it has to be an executive session.
Oh,
as
so
I
it's
said.
just going to be executive.
Yeah,
You're not
but
going to talk to folks. Okay.
Invitations will, if they haven't already, gone out. I don't think the date has been firmed up, because I think Dominic Tiberi was going to confirm by phone with the chiefs particularly, and then invite the school committee and the selectmen and whoever else in. But so tentatively for the end of August, and you'll find out about it because you're on the school committee.
I think it's nice. Personally, as a parent and you know, kids in 2 different schools in town, to know that these things happen. I think it's good to just talk about it here, and for people to have just an understanding that there are some things that I know I've come forward with to you, TJ, a while back, and other people have come forward and said, have you considered this? Or anytime there's a tragedy, what are you doing for this? Have you thought about this? There's this training I heard about. There's a lot of things you can't tell people, and I think that's important. I want to note that there's things that can't be said for security reasons, but also you've looked into pretty much everything that people have said. There's a conference coming up for this type of thing, and you've looked into it and gotten more information. So it's being looked at pretty thoroughly. I know, being on the subcommittee, like, there is deep discussion with a lot of people involved to make sure that children's safety and staff safety is number one.
Yeah, and look, I'm on the committee, and that's temporary. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I'm on the committee as a person from the community, not with any educational specialty, not with any. Well, I have some experience with construction and particularly law, but the educational people on the committee and the people that deal with Joel Harding, for example, with facilities, I mean, they can speak to how things work and the importance of them on an educational level much better than I can. Yeah. But when I look at it, and I get calls, much as probably you have, and I'm sure you have also, like when Parkland happened, tragedy that it was, I got about 4 calls right around then, or actually messages, because nobody calls these days, do they?
I call, you don't pick up, but that's okay. Will you come do the show? No answer. Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
So I mean, from my perspective, and this is my only point, is I just like to know that it's happening.
Yeah.
I defer to others on the importance of what happens.
That's right.
And there are so many dimensions that people don't, and we spend a lot of time thinking about this, but there are some things that we're going to be talking about now that haven't really been addressed, particularly the fact that for all the security measures that we take to keep students safe, when we have voting days, the schools are open.
Yep.
So the conversation has, again, I'm very happy that it has been rekindled
Excuse me.
to talk about the ways that we could preserve community-centered voting while not having it in school during the school day. So there are many, many different ways to work on security issues, and that's looking at the new building and how we build it from the standpoint of security is one way.
Right.
And then looking at the practices that we have and how those things might be improved to make safety just you have all those days where we are very careful who comes in the building. On voting days, we have a little less control.
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me, I'm starting to choke. I'm going to blame that on TJ again. But yeah, and I know that oh my gosh, you know what, TJ, pick it up. I have to take a drink of water.
So Maxie's Deli is...
No. Yes, they all wanted to read that one, but they were very upset when they found out it's part of the recording. We have a little less than 2 minutes, so I just wanted to kind of wrap it up and again circle back to the West renaming. Again, apologies for my throat.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here as well. Just again, just want to say thank you so much for your hard work, you and the school committee. Again, it's a great tribute to a wonderful person as far as that's concerned. So I just wanted to make sure you really, truly appreciate what you did.
It was an honor for us. It was definitely an honor for us, and it couldn't go to a better fitting person. So, Richard L. Wilkins, as they called him, Dick. We're going to be honored on September 25th to rename the West Elementary after him. So I'm very excited about that. I also just, in all fairness, I know I gave you a hard time, but I want to thank you all for coming on. I know this was kind of last minute to try to, put this together, but Dr. Rizzi, I thank you. TJ, thank you. Bob, thank you as well, and thank you for coming forward with the request for us to consider the renaming.
Thank you.
I also just want to give a special thanks to folks here at SMAC, and thank you for reaching out and asking us to come here and giving me this opportunity to host. To Gina Coe, Roy Cohen, Leo McGowan, Mike Hammond, Jeff Pickett, Dave Young, and CJ Mullen. Thank you so much, guys. This was a blast, and we hope everybody got some good information from the show. Have a great day.